Hello there, it's Tania Gabrielle, Wealth Astro-Numerologist. Welcome to Star Codes, the podcast where we look at an upcoming event in the stars and numbers, the Astrology and Numerology. And I'm so excited about this edition where I'm going to be recording more this month because July is so extra loaded with pivotal events. And this one that we're covering today is really major. It's really going to put a nice bow over the last several months when Pluto was the first planet, the outermost planet, to enter a new sign, 0 degrees Aquarius. And now we're coming to the final of 5 outer planets that are changing signs within months of each other. And we don't have a historical reference point for this ever happening. So it is tremendous. And so the final of 5 outer planets to change to a new sign, 0 degrees of a new sign, is Uranus. So on July 7th, 2025, Uranus moves into 0 degrees of Gemini. Now, Uranus is the planet of change, upheaval, revolution, freedom, awakening, surprises, the future, technology, inventions, revolutionary changes. And so Uranus is going to bring incredible shifts because it's going to feel very comfortable in Gemini. Gemini is an air sign. Uranus rules Aquarius, another air sign. So this will feel very differently than when Uranus was in Taurus from 2018 to 2025. We'll go into that in a moment as well. So Uranus is a slow-moving outer planet. It takes 84 years to circle around the 12 signs of the zodiac. And uniqueness is one of Uranus's main qualities, and it's fitting then that Uranus is the only planet that spins on its side as it orbits the sun. So Uranus brings us unique approaches, unique ideas to solve and perceive old beliefs, old problems, old solutions, and get new solutions from fresh angles. And is more concerned about moving into the future from the present moment, then clinging on to the past and looking back historically. It really likes to point out what's ready for a reset in our lives. And so Uranus can depart from traditional beliefs. It can depart from any kind of tradition. It can disrupt what we perceive as being secure. And it aims to bring us closer to personal sovereignty, autonomy, and a collective liberation from any kind of suppression or control. Now, Uranus, being the final of 5 slow-moving outer planets to move into 0 degrees of a new sign, it really shows us that planets take us into new territories of consciousness. And since all the outer planets are changing signs within a few months, this is taking us into huge new territories of consciousness. We are really going to be now perceiving our life personally and the outer world collectively in a brand new way. And this will slowly unfold, but slow meaning in terms of these slow-moving planets, within a few months, I would say within about 5 to 10 months, things will rapidly, we're going to look back and see the changes that are taking place. We're going to see how fundamental transformation, breakthroughs, breakups, revolutionary shifts are transforming our lives. When we look at the fact that Pluto began this process and Uranus is ending it, remember in the 1960s, Uranus and Pluto were conjunct. So everybody born in the 1960s, pretty much everybody, has Uranus and Pluto conjunct, merged together in Virgo. And so if you were born during that time, the energy right now is extra intense because of this Pluto beginning, Uranus ending of this major shift. The good news is that with Pluto at the beginning of Aquarius, having just moved into Aquarius, being at 2 degrees now, in a retrograde, and Uranus at the beginning of Gemini starting July 7th, they're going to be trying to each other. They're in respective air signs, and this is lovely. And we're going to need that good juju moving forward because of the major shifts. We're going to want to feel, oh, these shifts are for our highest good. They feel like inevitably they're going to bring more harmony and more opportunities for us to tap into what truly feels resonant, that really brings us joy and upliftment and fulfillment. And that's what trines do. Now, when we look at the actual date that Uranus changes signs, it is quite extraordinary. 7/7 is a powerful date in July because July in 2025, July, first of all, is the 7th month. The 7th is the 7th day of the 7th month. And the July in 2025 is a 16 universal month, and 16, 1 plus 6 equals 7. So we have a triple 777 code activated the day that Uranus changes signs. Now, 7 represents the lightning strike. It's about inspiration, sudden downloads, unexpected shifts and rifts, spiritual awakening. It is about research. It is about genius. And it basically represents all the keywords that Uranus has, the same qualities. So it lines up with Uranian out-of-the-box qualities. And so this 777 code is showing us, wow, there's going to be sudden, incredible shifts that will now envelop us. And they began in July already because July is a 16/7 month. And that I covered in a previous Star Code podcast. But Uranus is now making it even more magnificent and magnifying it. Now, Uranus moves slowly. It hasn't changed signs since 2018. That's when Uranus moved into Taurus. And this shift is one of the most groundbreaking moments in the stars of the whole decade because at the same time we have, of course, Pluto moving into Aquarius, Saturn moving into Aries, Neptune moving into Aries. And this is very important, in particular Neptune and Saturn moving into Aries, the first sign of the zodiac. 3 days prior to Uranus changing signs into Gemini on July 7th, on July 4th in the Americas, Europe, July 5th, Asia and Oceania, however you say it, on July 4th, 5th, Neptune stations retrograde in Aries for the first time in 150 years because Neptune hasn't been in Aries since 1861 to 1875. And by the way, that period when Neptune was last in Aries coincided with the American Civil War, a time of intense conflict, transformation, of course. And this is hugely significant because when Uranus enters Gemini just 3 days later on July 7th, Uranus is returning to the sign of its U.S. natal chart return, meaning Uranus was in Gemini at the birth of the U.S. And that signifies on 7/7/2025 the beginning of the U.S. Uranus return, which becomes exact in 2027. However, we're feeling it now. The significance begins in earnest now. It's only the third time due to Uranus's 84-year cycle around the sun that the U.S. has had a return of Uranus. Now, get this. At the time of the birth, we were in the American Revolution. The first Uranus return was the American Civil War. That happened in 1861, 84 years after the birth. So note that the Neptune in Aries move that just happened also occurred during that American Civil War. So it's very important to see these two significant concurring themes regarding the U.S., especially because the Uranus return is now really amping up during a time where we're going to be celebrating our 250th anniversary, and that will be in 2026. So the Uranus return literally happens for that 250th anniversary, which is a quarter of a millennia. And just to reiterate how important Uranus is in the U.S. chart, the second Uranus return, so 84 years after the first one, was exact during World War II, and now it's time for the third return. And finally, Gemini, the sign that Uranus is moving into. Gemini is an important sign for the US because in the US Sibley chart, 5:10 p.m. Philadelphia on July 4th, 1776, Sagittarius is the ascendant. Sagittarius is the rising sign, which places Gemini in a prominent angular position, exactly opposite Sagittarius. So Gemini rules the seventh house, which is called the descendant. And the four angles in astrology are the most sensitive parts of our birth chart. So in a nation's birth chart, it is the same thing. So this is another reason that when Uranus returns to its natal position, now for the third time, it does really trigger the whole chart, because it will, just by virtue of the US birth chart, be opposite the rising sign of Sagittarius. Now, earlier this week, I sent out a newsletter to my list about July and the huge celestial shifts activated this month. If you want to receive my free newsletters in your email inbox, sign up at my homepage, taniagabrielle.com, and you'll receive the latest updates, the latest forecasts. I write about 3 to 4 emails a week, and you really can stay in touch so you can be supported with these incredible shifts that are transforming our planet as we speak. Uranus is the modern rule of Aquarius. It brings disruption, innovation, it brings awakening. And as it will now be moving through Gemini, Uranus will challenge how we think, how we speak, how we connect. It's going to liberate us from mental patterns. It's going to birth new ways of communicating and learning. And as I said, Uranus does like Gemini because it's a fellow air sign. Air is very fast moving and more connected to the mind. And we're going to be opening our mind to question assumptions, to be open to new ways of even using technology and look at perspectives like we've never considered them before. So now more than ever, we need to expect breakthroughs in media, in transportation, in travel, and how we share information, everything that Gemini rules. So one more thing about the date that's important. 7/7/2025 adds up to 23. 23 is the strongest number in numerology. It represents the royal star of the lion. 23 reduces to 5, which represents people, crowds, adventure, freedom, Uranus, right? It's very connected to the Gemini-Uranus flavor. If you want to look at this as a flavor, it's a really incredible numbers code, 77, adding up to 23/5, 7/7/2025, and 25 is also a 7, the year we're in. It's really connected to intellectual brainstorming and learning and bringing clarity to your message. And because July in this year is a 16/7 universal month, the 77777 really inspires us. It allows us, when these major shifts and unexpected, even shocking things occur, to turn to inspiration, to turn to our intuition, to turn to source, to God, to spirit, and receive what it is we need, so we feel that royal star of the lion energy within us, that courage, that power, that leadership, so we don't allow the external to control us, but we become the internal guidance system to our own life, which is really what this whole code is about. You know, Uranus does not follow rules. Not that rules aren't important. Uranus doesn't break rules to the point of causing havoc, though at times chaos can happen. But for the most part, Uranus is just a disruptor of energy that has gone stale, that is no longer helpful, supportive, that is serving the wrong, how should I say, energy sources, and that needs to be liberated and set free from those energy sources. So Gemini is the third sign of the zodiac. It's aligned with youth, with learning, with mobility, with communication. And you can therefore expect a lot of changes in how we move around and how we educate, whether it is in school, in college, or ourselves. Since Gemini really longs for lively knowledge, Gemini is so curious and is free of hierarchical thinking, right? It doesn't like heavy energy. It's an air sign. With Uranus involved, you can really expect to deeply question many, many models that we base our society on. We want them lighter now. We want them more individualized so that they, for example, in school, not one size fits all kind of learning. We want alternate ways of teaching, of pedagogy. We want everything to be open also for experimentation so we can discover new ways that may actually be more conducive for the times that we live in and for the child or children that we are raising. Gemini is interested in a lot of things, and it's constantly wanting to move from one thing to another. It can't really sit still, and neither can Uranus being the lightning strike, like the number 7. So together, they accelerate everything, especially if it's related to movement and mobility. And when you add the freedom-seeking qualities of Uranus, again, to this combination, Uranus and Gemini, it's going to be very busy this period. And personally, things will also shift for you, especially if you have significant placements in one of the 4 mutable signs, which are Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. For example, if your rising sign, your ascendant, or your midheaven, which rules the 10th house, is in one of these mutable signs, or if your sun sign, your moon sign, and the planet that rules your ascendant sign are in mutable signs themselves, you will get a stronger dose of this Uranus energy by transit during these next 8 years. Now, there are also other configurations that can impact you. Again, it really depends on your birth chart and where Uranus is placed and the aspects Uranus forms, etc. But just to keep in mind, Uranus has been in Taurus since May 2018. On 7/7/2025, it moves into Gemini. It will leave Gemini for a few months again, between, I think, November and April, move into Taurus due to a retrograde. However, those of you who have planets or angles in one of the 4 fixed signs, which are Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, you have learned how to work with Uranus by now, since you've been experiencing Uranus and Taurus most intensely for the last 8 years. And you can, in a way, create teachable moments for those who have more than mutable energy in their chart, right? See, Uranus really resonates with mutable energy because Uranus is about freeing yourself up and being more flexible. Uranus is not interested in fitting in. It's not interested in social approval or doing what's predictable, doing what's safe. You need to embrace who you are unapologetically with Uranus. You need to speak up using your genuine voice, your genuine interests, your genuine desires. And that's how you also can surprise people around you, which, sometimes is not appreciated, but in the end is really the best way if it's done with the highest vibrational energy in mind, meaning not to hurt others, but just to speak up when you feel called to. Notice the ways you've adapted, held back, or modified your natural genius or your natural way of doing things in order to fit in. See, this is going to go out the window now. You need to give yourself permission to speak up, to break those habits of trying to fit in. It's best to not participate and even to speak up if you are called to. This is an integral part of this Uranus transit, because remember, Gemini is about communication. It's ruled by Mercury, so it is about speaking your heart and mind. Uranus wants to breathe new life and energy into an area of your life that has become boring or stagnant or too safe, too familiar, right? And you need to be open to these new ideas that you have about making choices that might set you apart from others. That's okay. That's really how the greatest art and science and any kind of breakthrough energy is created, by honoring yourself. Even if it means standing out and you don't like standing out, it isn't about that. it is about bringing the divine spark through. Right before Uranus enters Gemini, it makes a beautiful conjunction with Venus at 29 degrees Taurus, at the very, very, very last degree of Taurus, which is a critical degree. And this is such good news because it signifies that you are going to be very open to new options, to connect with others, to be very creative, with which Uranus loves, and that financial windfalls are also enhanced during this time. As you honor your own uniqueness and follow that thread, you will activate abundance and beauty and love. And so that stimulation creatively allows you to go as far as your imagination will want to go. You're going to be exploring beauty and love, and relationships will get a burst of excitement. So if you've been in a dry spell, you may have some wonderful surprises coming your way as well. One of the earliest signs that Uranus might be influencing you is a growing sense of feeling like something needs to change, like it's a restless energy, like a persistent wondering or questioning about what you want, or a curiosity about something else, or living differently, right? So that's a clue that you're ready for something new. And you might not even know what that something new actually is defined as. And it may be completely different than what you might originally think, but it is time to explore new options. Uranus loves adventure and exploration, and Gemini loves curiosity and short distance travel. These are air sign energies, and air literally is the travel element in astrology. So it is a wonderful time to explore the huge impacts that travel has on your life and that location has on your life. And you may feel a very strong urge to move either locally or to a brand new area of the country, or even a brand new area of the world. So knowing more about locational astrology, astrocartography, is super important, because you'll discover where in the world you feel better, more relaxed, and where you might not feel those energies. There will be more challenges. So really finding the most fortunate places to travel to and live to. Unfortunately, I have a great masterclass. It's absolutely free, called Astrocartography, The Power of Fortunate Places. And you can watch it at positivelocations.com. And I have wonderful celebrity astrocartography examples as well to bring it all to life. And I'm sure you will enjoy discovering the incredible branch of astrology that covers the world with your birth map and shows you these fortunate and challenging and neutral locations. So head on over to positivelocations.com, enjoy that free masterclass, and have an incredible holiday weekend in the US. Happy 4th of July. Be very alert this weekend. There's a lot of shifting energy around, and have a beautiful week. And I'll see you soon for the Capricorn full moon, which is actually next week. Okay, lots of love.